As a person with a very deep voice, I'm hired all the time for advertising campaigns. But a deep voice doesn't sell B2B, and advertising on the wrong platform doesn't sell B2B either. That's why if you're a B2B marketer, you should use LinkedIn ads. LinkedIn has the targeting capabilities to help you reach the world's largest professional audience. That's right, over 70 million decision makers all in one place. All the big wigs, then medium wigs, also small wigs who are on the path to becoming big wigs. Okay, that's enough about wigs. LinkedIn ads allows you to focus on getting your B2B message to the right people. So, does that mean you should use ads on LinkedIn instead of hiring me, the man with the deepest voice in the world? Yes. Yes, it does. Get started today and see why LinkedIn is the place to be to be. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Entrepreneurs Enigma is a podcast for the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. So the wins and the fails that we all face being entrepreneurs, how we learn from adversity. Every week I talk to a different entrepreneur with a story to tell. I'm Seth Goldstein. Come with me on the journey. This is Entrepreneurs Enigma. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Entrepreneurs Enigma podcast. I am, as always, your host, Seth. Today, I have Anastasia Lipske. She is the chief bottle washer, the founder of Access Speakers, a speaker and podcasting booking agency. And so she's one of those. She's just one of those. No. She's more than 1,600 engagements for her clients. I mean, that's ridiculously high number. I get hit up all the time, and even by Anastasia here, to get one of her clients on the podcast. But a lot of times they just get sent to spam. It was something about Anastasia that I was like, let's chat. I don't know. She hit me on a good day when I was like, oh, let's chat, whatever. So anyway, we chatted. Anastasia speaks the language of speaker chairs, event planners, and podcast hosts who seek great speakers and podcast guests for their meetings and shows. She's personable and friendly and outgoing and not pushy, and I enjoyed that. So let's bring her in here before I make her blush too much here. How's it going, Anastasia?
Very well, thank you. I so appreciate all of this. And just for clarification's sake, that 1,600 plus, that's me. That's not my agency. My agency's done more.
Oh!
So just saying, I got some boots on the ground. They've gotten a little muddy along the way.
Wait,
I did not.
You booked 1,600 on your own.
On my own, me.
Wow, hot
while
shot.
Running the business. So hey, but you know what? I've been at it for 12 plus years. So you know,
exactly.
but not full time.
Podcasting's been around for a while too. I've been podcasting since 2010. So
yeah. Although I wasn't doing the podcast guesting, so I started in the speaking world. That was my thing, and I had a very unique business model because nobody books free speakers. So I focused on platform marketing speakers, people who knew that if they went out and they talked to the Rotary clubs, chambers, real estate groups, that if they had a product or a service that was of value to that audience and they presented it in a way that was to bless the audience, not to pitch their stuff, there would be a certain percentage of people that would resonate with what they're doing and offering, and then they become clients, right? So brilliant marketing tool. People have been doing it for years, but you could never get
someone. The rates. They're affordable.
I know. I keep.
Yeah, raise those rates.
I am actually in January.
And I saw your January numbers. I'm like,
they're still low. I know.
But it's kind of
it's a mission. It's a mission. Yeah, absolutely.
That's
well,
good.
we do everything
how
very
did
personalized.
It get started?
Well, I believe it's a God thing because no one in their right mind would have ever thought to do a business the way that I do it because my model is very unique. My experience was tourism, basically from the age of 18 onward. I spent more than 30 years in tourism, primarily luxury, high-end tourism. And my forte was in helping international ground operators, in essence, get exposure to some of the top luxury travel agents in the world. And I was an entrepreneur even before I knew what that was. So though I worked corporate, I was always kind of doing my own thing because I wanted to help these people. So I had a lot of experience. Also, I did huge events, luxurious events, international, like all over the world.
Where have you been my
world.
whole life?
Well, I didn't book it though. See, that's the thing. I was never an agent. I was never booking someone, but I had the contacts all around the world. So I had a lot of event experience. I've been to so many conferences, helped put them on. And that basically gave me the experience so that when I walked away from tourism in 2000, I didn't expect to. It was 2008. I walked away from a really great contract.
That'll do you.
Yeah. That was yeah, it hurt. It hurt really hard because I had never been unemployed in my life and I felt safe. Like I knew all the movers and shakers in the industry. And so I walked away from this contract and I'd reach out to them and say, hey, I'm a free agent. Would you like to bring me onto your company? And presidents of cruise lines, they'd say, oh, we'd hire you in a heartbeat. We just laid 50 people off yesterday. That was April of 2008 that I decided to go off on my own. So
same here. I went out on my own November 2007, right before the crash.
Yeah.
And I was like, but it honestly, I feel like even at COVID, entrepreneurship flourishes in adversity, I feel like.
I absolutely agree because you get creative.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of have to. So I jumped into Twitter, honestly, in 2008. It's funny because I just heard your episode with Peter Shankman.
Yeah.
I remember I was a subscriber to Harold. I knew him from my early Twitter days. And he doesn't know me, but I knew who he was. Yeah. So kudos to you, by the way, getting him on your show because he's a big deal. But that time period was fresh. Twitter was fresh, and that's when we had tweet ups.
People were still talking about what they were having for lunch on Twitter at that time. So yeah,
some of them were, and the rest of us were saying, "Hey, there's more to it than this." In fact, I don't know if you remember the Twitch hiker, Paul Smith. So I'm in his book because I was involved in that. I brought him to Sonoma County.
There you go.
So now my Access Inspirati Twitter name is gone because I actually deleted my account. So it's gone. I did this years ago, but I was really involved in that. So I was jumping into social media while I was unemployed. I spent 2 years not finding work in my industry, sent out more than 1,000 resumes.
Yeah, it was a few years. It was a few years to recover, especially in the travel industry, because no one had money. We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors, and get right back to the show.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Gordon Glenister hosts an outstanding podcast called the Influence Global Podcast. Gordon, tell these fine folks what they're going to get when they listen.
We interview some amazing people from all around the world, whether they be influencers, content creators, brands, influencer platforms, anybody involved in the influencer industry. There's some fantastic guests that make a fine listen for you. You can find them on marketingpodcasts.net, or you can also find them on my own website, which is www.gordonglenister.com.
Or, of course, wherever you get your podcasts.
Actually, I was still getting unemployment benefits, thank God. That was for 2 years. They kept extending it.
Well,
because I was out there trying to find the work and I wasn't. But there was this gal who was throwing a social media conference in my town. I wanted to go, but I was broke as a joke. So I reached out to her and I'm like, hey, I have event planning experience. I can help you with your conference. I'll volunteer if you let me in. So she's
almost every small conference will take volunteers and say, here's your ticket.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But once she found out what I did, she had me over for coffee and she offered me a job literally in the 11th hour of her first conference that she had ever put on. And she didn't know what she was doing. So I came in and I saved her backside.
Yeah.
And so she kept me on. And then I stayed for the second conference and I got involved in vetting speakers. So I was the one that was kind of going through and proofing them, right? So I had that experience. Meanwhile, I start doing some work for a sustainable farm. That's a whole different story. But that gal, I ended up not working with her much longer, though my kids all worked there. And then she came to me and she said, my business coach told me that I should be speaking to grow the business.
Yeah.
And so she said, you're unemployed again, because I walked away from that social media gig. And she said, I'll pay you for every gig you can get for me. I don't know anybody in town. You know everybody. Just do it, please.
Your connections get you everywhere. And that's something you have to realize. Build your connections.
Build your connections. You never know where they're going to come back to you.
That's how I get Peter Shankman on the show. That's how I get Guy Kawasaki on the show.
Yeah.
Through connections. I mean,
it's connections. Well, and coming from a space of integrity, when you're out there to bless other people instead of being in it for yourself, people know that, right? They can smell that like rank cheese. And so when you live in integrity, people will know that. And it comes, it does ultimately come. So I just started doing it. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just started reaching out to Rotary clubs. She was amazing. And she wasn't selling anything. She was just inviting people out to see her farm. And when they came out to her farm, they would fall in love with their operation and they would become clients. So it started from there. She said, you got to do this for other people. I found out there were so many people in business that they wanted to do the speaking. They didn't have the time to do it.
And I'm not knocking you for that. You're at a good price point where it's someone like a solopreneur can say, I could do that for a little while. I could get Anastasia on the horn and do that a little bit. Like, it's not like, oh my God, knocking you over the back of the head. Where you got to do it, it's a good price point, I think.
I think so too. And I know everybody I talk to tells me my rates are too low, and I get that. I'm not the right person.
But you are raising it though.
I am raising it, and I do give incredible value. I am really good at what I do. So there's that, but I also love it. And I don't want it to be at a price point where people can't get this support, because I believe in using the power of your voice, whatever your message is. And so many people, it's a barrier for them to get their voice out there because they don't have the time to do the research, to do the reach outs, to do the follow up, all those things. And that's what we do. So, and we're good at it. And we develop relationships with hosts because they trust us.
You got through to me, and I'm an old crusty journalist who, is used to getting pitched all the time. And, somehow you got through, and I was like, okay, great. I don't remember what you were pitching. I just remember I liked you, and I was like, let's chat.
Thank you. Well, and I'll tell you, we don't really use the word pitch. We do proposals.
Proposals, so, I think better. It's better.
I do proposals, and it's only one-to-one. Like, it's gone through 2 vetting processes. Myself, my agency, we have vetted the show first to make sure that we feel it's one that we feel our clients would want to be on. Then we only go out to our clients that we feel are aligned and can be of value to that host. Because that's what it's all about. If they can't bring value, then they've got no business offering themselves to that host. Then we have our client view the show. We want them to listen. We want them to vet it. We want them to be thinking, how can I be of value to this? And only if they feel that they can, then they come back to us and they say, yes, I feel I'd be great on Seth's show. And here's why, because blah, 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 right? So or they say, no, I'm not feeling it. My clients only pay if we get them booked. So if they come back and they say yes to Seth, right? So like as an example, I've just recently shared someone with you that she's already listened to your show. So she feels she's in alignment. I send her to you as a proposal. You're booked up because that's a gold-plated problem to have, right? So we're going to wait a little bit.
No, it's an insane problem to have. I mean, I'm imagining things aren't going to come out to January. I'm like,
well, I've already got a ping. Like, I've got it in my calendar.
I told Anastasia, I'm like, you have to contact me in January when I'm desperate for. And at that point, I'll make sure I make space.
Thank you. Well, here's the thing. She's already vetted. This is not like someone who they say, oh, I listened to your podcast. It was really great. Dude, I get people telling me that, and I don't even have a podcast. Okay. So people don't lie, please, just don't lie.
Don't do that. Just, do some research, please. Come on.
Exactly. So I also do consulting. So even though I'm not the right fit for everybody, I can help people through my consulting, anybody, hosts and guests, as to how to get the most out of every interview they do, how to be the type of host or guest that a host will love, how to be the host that a guest will love. Because I see things, I'm in the middle, right?
Yeah, you see both sides.
I see both sides. And I'm telling you, I see things from hosts that I'm like,
Ooh, that's painful.
Yeah, if you only knew. And usually
I
it's
see some
not because they
things.
don't care, it's ignorance. They don't understand how them doing this or not doing that is seen from the other end.
Absolutely.
So I like to help people with that.
That's great. Now, what is the best thing about being an entrepreneur? Now, you've done it a bunch of times. You left the corporate world at the best time to do it. You know, what do you find the most fun thing about being an entrepreneur versus being? I mean, because now you know that like corporate world wasn't safe.
Yeah.
So you got to compare that too. But like, what's the best thing about being an entrepreneur? I'm burying the lead here.
All right. So I'm going to share something. So there are times.
Yeah.
Okay, let me start with some of the downsides.
Yeah.
There are times, I will
That's the other
admit,
question.
okay, especially when I'm on LinkedIn every day. And by the way, I'm happy to connect with anyone on LinkedIn. If you introduce yourself, by the way, don't just send a
Please,
generic,
please,
okay?
people, introduce yourselves.
I don't accept
Or if
requests.
you connect via mobile by accident, then send an email.
Exactly.
And say,
Oh my gosh.
swoop, swoop."
Oh my gosh. Yes, because it's so LinkedIn finally has changed something with the mobile app to make it a little bit easier. No joke. Last night, I almost reached out on the mobile app and I still don't trust it. And I sent an email to myself today to reach out to someone because I won't risk doing that. So yes. Okay. So y'all, if you want to find me on LinkedIn, I would love to connect, but tell me, say, hey, I heard you on Seth's show. But on LinkedIn, the upper right-hand corner, they're always throwing things out there. Like there was this, like something that popped up for Cracker Barrel. Like, maybe you would be a great fit for Cracker Barrel. I'm like, what? Cracker Barrel? Where'd that come from? And then I thought, oh, what if I just worked for somebody else that gave me a paycheck every 2 weeks? I got medical coverage. I got vacation pay. I got sick pay. I just got a new hip. Right. And so I had to take time off that I paid for that. It was not long enough that I got to claim disability. So these are some of the downsides. So there's these moments where I have this like, what if I just got a job, and work for an insurance company, whatever. Then I stop and I think, no. I don't ever want to work for anybody but me again. And I didn't intend to do this, but now that I'm here, I can't go back. It's like, I took the red pill and there's a hard aspect to it, but I will never go back to the blue. Like I just, for Matrix reference for anybody. So I just can't go back. Right. So that's some of the downsides, some of the upsides. I was in Sicily for almost 5 weeks.
I know. Yeah.
Okay. And I got to work from my laptop looking over the Mediterranean. I didn't work the entire time. I was there with family, my son-in-law's family. It was a Sicilian experience. There were no Americans. The only English spoken the entire time was basically amongst ourselves. It was an amazing life-altering experience.
And you could do that because you didn't have to ask for permission, number one. You didn't have to bank all the vacation days for the past 3 years to do it.
Yeah.
And you still worked. I mean,
I still worked.
I can hear people saying right now, like, "Oh, but I can do that remotely with work," and that's true. You could finagle maybe a week or two.
Right.
You were there for 5 weeks. I remember we were trying to organize things. You're like, "I'm on Sicily time. I'm on CS time." I'm like, "That's fine. We'll talk when you get back."
Yeah. That's freedom.
That's freedom.
I have freedom. And now I'm also paying the price for it right now. Financially, I took a hit because I was just keeping up with my emails. I wasn't doing revenue generating work, but it's okay because I knew
wise, it was great. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And now you can come back and then bust your butt and pick up steam. Rested and not burn out.
Rested. And I had that freedom. So for me, that's important. And that's an aspect of my life that I don't know that I can ever give up, is that choice. And I do have choices every day as to what I do. If I, whatever, but now I have consequences too.
Oh,
so that's okay. So that's
the next question. What keeps you up at night?
Honestly, finances. finances. So here's the thing. It was funny because you were talking with Peter Shankman about imposter syndrome. I am very careful. I never talk about things that I don't know what I'm talking about. So I can talk about podcast guesting, speaker branding, like all that kind of stuff till the cows come home. Don't ask me how to have a successful business. I am good at what I do. My clients love me. The hosts love me. But me, financially sustainable business, it could use an upgrade. So it's the finances. And so what's especially hard is that hip surgery. I had some complications.
Oh,
not bad. Like from the surgery,
no,
it was
honestly, even if you have to be out another week, because hip surgery is not no joke. Hip surgery's number one.
Big,
and
especially for some
messy.
people it's easy. Other people, I'm hypermobile. There were complications as a result of that. So it was 5 weeks of me working from my sister's recliner from a laptop.
But you can do that as an entrepreneur.
Again, I could do it because a virtual entrepreneur on top of that. So I don't, I do have I could work from Mars if they had Wi-Fi. There's no doubt.
Ooh,
but that 5 weeks hurt. And then I came back and I literally had not even 2 months. I think I had 6 weeks before I left for Sicily. So I have had 2 major life experiences that affected my revenue generation back to back. So consequences, that's what's keeping me up at night, is how do I make up for that? Oh, and just to throw in some little fun in there, I hired a new person for my team right before I left for Sicily. So I'm also training someone, which we all know is hard. Yeah. Glutton for punishment is right.
Yeah, but you know what? But that's the fun of it. It's an adventure.
It is an adventure.
But you get to go to Sicily, and honestly, you're able to take 5 weeks off of work and then have a boss scream at you, why are you not working? I'm like, well, I'm not mobile. What do you want me to do?
Yes. And
I've had the time to make yourself heal. Now your hip's happier for it.
Oh my gosh, so much better. Everything is so much better. And that freedom is also important when people, so I've done a lot of caretaking, both for my mother and for my son. I have done a lot of work from hospital bedsides, a lot of work from ER rooms. I have that flexibility. I can do that, but I can also not work from the ER if I don't want to, because it's okay. All I got to do is put in an out of office assistant to pop up with my email, and people know I'm not available today or this week or whatever.
Or reach
not
out
everybody
to
can do that.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I've got a team, I've got people who can support me while I'm out, but they don't do what I do.
No.
That's the other part.
Chief
cook and bottle washer. Right.
So here's a question for you. With all this, what is the most important thing to carry with you all the time?
Hope.
Oh, I love that.
Hope. Because as long as I am on this side of the grass, there's hope. And I have control of so much more than I sometimes feel like I do. That comes from Viktor Frankl's book, right? The Meaning of Life. Like it's that idea that we have choices in how we respond to anything. And I always have hope, even when things have gotten scary. I know God's got my back. I know he's not going to allow me to be homeless. I also have family that won't let that happen. But it's the hope that I know what I'm capable of. I know that I can turn this all around, and I'm going to more than make up for it. By January, I'm going to be flying with my business.
Good.
So, but then maybe I can talk to somebody about coming from the dredge, that mud, right? Being that lotus flower that's come up. And then on top of being really great for my clients and my guests that I'm booking, those clients and the host, but I can also say, and I've got a kick butt sustainable business too.
Love it.
That's coming.
That's awesome. So hope. So where can people reach out to you? Where's your watering hole online? Let me guess, LinkedIn?
LinkedIn is where I play. I don't play anywhere else. I've let the rest go. And I'm going to also suggest to anyone who's doing podcast guesting themselves that they do what I've done, and you create one space, one landing page to send people to.
So much easier than typing it out every single time.
Exactly, because I want you to know it. And here's the thing is I want to keep it easy for you to remember. Like some of you might be washing dishes right now. Some of you might be driving in the car. All you need to remember is my company name, which is Access Speakers. So accessspeakers.biz, B-I-Z, /thank you. If you go to that page, you'll see me. There's a way for you to get a free ebook. I'm happy to do a mini consultation for anyone, a free 15, 20 minutes if they want to get a sense for what I do in my consulting practice. Just reach out to me. Everything's in that one place. And I highly recommend that you have one place as well. So accessspeakers.biz /thank you.
Love it. Anastasia, thank you so much for being on. This is such a pleasure. And we will see more of your people on here.
Yes.
So
yes. Awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And we'll see everyone next time. That was a great show. If you're enjoying Entrepreneurs Enigma, please review us in the podcast directory of your choice. Every review helps other podcast listeners find our show. If you're looking for other podcasts in the marketing space, look no further than the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net. Goldstein Media hopes you have enjoyed this episode.
You may know you are listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Izzy House hosts a great podcast called the Space Marketing Podcast. Izzy, tell us what these fine folks will get out of listening.
Space Marketing Podcast is where we explore marketing principles, strategies, and tactics through the lens of space. I talk space with some very interesting industry professionals about their challenges and successes with marketing in the new commercial space economy. This show is for business leadership, entrepreneurs, and the space curious.
Wow. And where in the universe can people subscribe?
All of the major channels, and you can also find it on MPN and spacemarketingpodcast.com.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.